I want to give massive thanks to all of my supporting members and patrons. Thank you all so much. Good morning, Vietnam. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a different film. How are you all? Hope you're all doing well. Good to see so many of you. 49 in the room as I speak. A quick shout out, of course, to Judy Bassett for a very kind super chat right off the bat before the stream even started. I think it was, let's have a quick look. Was it €7? Quick refresh. €7, yes. Thank you very much, Judy. Appreciate that. That was very kind of you. He says as he glances surreptitiously to see if his mic is actually on, which it is, and it actually looks a bit loud. Let me just adjust that back a little. Up, down, maybe about there. So, hope you're all well. Good to see so many of you in here. I know. On the hold on, let's just adjust that. A little bit of feedback for me, thank you. On the thumbnail, there's a sextant. Don't worry, everybody. We are not going to have a 2-hour stream about sextants. Sextants have been done to death, but there is a connection. Yeah, they're carrying on with that stupid, as we all know. So let's see who we've got in here. Well, I can see Codon's got his name all over the place as always. Good evening to you, Codon, and I hope Mrs. Codon is doing fine too. Mohammed Shafiq, good evening to you. Not seen you around for a little while, my friend. That is good to see, it really is. Marek is there, hello to you. David Oliver saying Eagle Nebula. I'm not sure where we're going with that, but thank you for that. And scrolling back, as always, I'm jumping in, picking names at random, so please forgive me if you get missed. Mr. X, Mr. Y was asking about small green furry creatures from Alpha Centauri. Well, only if they're real small green furry creatures from Alpha Centauri. And of course at that time men were real men and women were real men. What am I talking crap, aren't I? You know what I'm saying. Just call me Avi. The fishman has planted his bait. He now lies in wait for the Flurfs to tickle his line. This and more on Flurfs Down. I'm not going to do any tickling down under, thank you very much. Martin H, I'm not sure if I mentioned your name, Mr. Otto Pants. Good evening to you, 9 o'clock hero. And none other than my mum bakes cakes. Haven't seen you around for a little while either, my mum. Well, actually, you could have been there in the last stream. I'm not entirely sure now. Killer Cuts. Saying Blue Marble is amazing. Isn't he just? I had fun and games, as Mr. 42 knows, fun and games on Blue Marble's channel just a couple of days ago. Because there's a certain flat earther. Well, actually, I'll say a certain flat earther, more an annoying little troll called Domesticated Privates. Domesticated Primate. He used to bug my channel with stupid comments left, right and centre, but he went away. But he's been running riot on Blue Marble's server lately. Well, I went in about 4 days ago and I bust him up about 2 things. I can't remember what they were. It's unimportant right now. But he couldn't come up with any evidence. Then I went back the day after and he was talking some more stupid. And I bust him again and he was unable to provide any evidence to back up his position. And he went quiet. So I said, look, save time. When I come in tomorrow or whenever, I'll come in the room, you run away, and we'll just save all the arguing in between. And I did come in the next day. I reminded him of that, but he stayed and talked stupid. But there was another guy, SE Montreal is the name, if memory serves. And he when he saw me, he said, I want to ask you a question in voice chat. And someone said, don't do it, Mr. S, don't do it. He wants to try and catch you out so that they can take it to Bev's server, record it, take it to Bev's server and clip you saying something. And I tried to persuade him to tell me what it's about, because there's no point in him asking me about the ins and outs of nuclear fission. if it's not something I know about. So what's the subject? And he wouldn't spill the beans. But eventually, about 4 of us, myself, Blue, George Natiuk, and I've forgotten who else, agreed to go in onto the voice channel. Other people were listening on the side, including Mr. 42 and some others, so we could ask his questions. They weren't desperately interesting. He was asking about light and how it bends or whatever. I had said before we started, look, if we reach something that I don't know about, I'll say, hey, I don't know about that, which I think is an honest position. The first couple of questions I was able to answer, and then he was asking stuff about stuff in the infrared or whatever, which Blue and George were talking about, but I had to say, sorry, don't really know much about that. Plus, Mrs. S had just got home and I had to run. So I don't know how that ended up, but it was quite interesting. So there's been a lot of fun and games on Blue Marble's Discord server. And David Oliver's just super chatted £2, which isn't showing on, because I'm not letting that. Oh, what am I done? Not letting the chat scroll. So I don't want to. Yes, £2 saying many Bothans died getting information on sextants. This is so true and so sad. Quite right, and thank you very much for that, David. I meant to use that clip in my last video, and I darn well forgot, didn't I? Never mind. Got a few clips in there, including one that the ever-present Mr. Colon gave me probably over a year ago, the Kirk slap one. So that was a bit of a shock, because I didn't tell him, and he was pleased to see that. Oh yes, I kept the clip, Colon. I kept the clip. What's this? Biggest Doggus, you ran from Mrs. S, Mr. Sensible. No, I didn't run from her. I ran to her. I don't think it's a big secret. She went for her jab. She's anaphylactic, so couldn't have many jabs. Had one particular jab and the second one last time. Each time she had to be in hospital just in case of any reaction. She didn't have to stay in hospital, but she was knocked silly for a couple of days. But it didn't do any good, so they're trying her on another one. So she had to have it done in hospital, and she came up in a rash, and there was thoughts that they'd have to keep her in, but they went down, so she was coming home. So that was more important than shooting the can, shooting the breeze with SE Montreal. So I went to see my missus instead. Wow, we've jumped up from 49 to 110 watching. Thank you, everyone. And if it's your first time here in the channel, grab yourself a seat, grab a cushion. Drinks are on the side. Make yourself comfy. Talking of drinks, my drink of choice tonight is another J2O. This one is Glitterberry. And yes, if I can give it a bit of a stir, and if it shows, it's got glitter in it. Isn't that cute? Oh, yeah. And it's actually a mixture of grape, cherry, and spice flavour. I'm wondering if it's melange. Maybe that's melange. Yes, it expands the mind. Expands consciousness, enables guild navigators to fold space. Yeah. Tastes darn good as well. No wonder they mine it all over June, collect it over June. Sorry, Arrakis, depending on the time period. Anyway, enough of June. Yes, it's a bit of a mixture tonight. You'll have to forgive me, because every now and then I'm going to be looking at the big white board, Mr. President, because I've made some notes. I've also got a quote I wanted to say, and possibly, fingers crossed, there is a flat earther who contacted me. He's been on the channel before, who wants to come on the stream to ask me a question or two. And no, it's not SE Montreal. This guy has been on before. I'm hoping he can make it. He did message me a little earlier. I've just switched off my heating. He did message me a little earlier to see if it was definitely on tonight and what time. It's doing that squeaking. Squeaking's gone away. So hopefully he'll be in, because I said to him maybe about 20 past, half past. Well, it's already 10 past, so it'll probably be a little later than that. So that will be nice. But tonight's theme is that it's a trap, because, yeah, I had laid a trap or baited a hook for Mitchell, and these guys are turning around and saying that I've fallen for it. They're saying it's a trap, and I don't quite understand it. So I thought we'd have a bit of run through what's happened. Here we go. First of all, I laid a baited hook for Mitchell from Australia when he was talking about sextants. I said, you don't need a horizon, because they're always going on about, oh, it's curved and you can't see it, and if it's apparent and yada 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 yada, totally not understanding that you're not trying to actually draw a baseline that they have a problem with because it's curved, but you're just trying to get horizontal. The horizon would not be quite horizontal, so you apply dip correction and refraction, but they didn't like that. So I said, you don't need a horizon. And I also said that there's a method that you don't need dip angle. And of course he called me out on it, laughed and so on. So I did the first Mitch Hiker's Guide to the Fallacy, where I showed him two things. I showed him a bubble sextant and an artificial horizon. Oh yes. And now of course we've got, what's his name? 10th Man. His latest is talking about bubble sextants, something that they'd never mentioned ever before. Funny that, and suddenly they're experts on bubble sextants. I fished Mitch a second time. Actually, these two times could have been the other way round, can't remember. When I said, well, actually, you don't triangulate. There's no triangles involved. And of course, he went for it and laughed and said, yeah, it's all triangulation, it's triangles. So I taught him about trilateration and showed him about that and the circles and so on, and how you don't calculate any triangles whatsoever. And of course he then said, well, yeah, the last bit with the circles, that's trilateration, but the first bit, that's triangulation, which of course it isn't. Oh, what's happened there? Oh, colon, you just come on to live. He's run away again. I don't know what happened. I think he jumped in the wrong room. So of course then Mitch, suddenly knew all about trilateration, which, funnily enough, he hadn't mentioned once that I'm aware of prior to me calling him out, beating him up and jumping on the bits. But he did say, it's a trap, and that I had fallen for it. So suddenly they know all about trilateration, and I had fallen into their trap. What happened next? Well, next we had 10th Man. 10th Man then jumped in and did a video, and he was talking about trilateration. Funny that. But was saying trilateration requires radio signals. You know, because they put the word trilateration into Google. They probably tried several times before they got the spelling right, but they put the word trilateration into Google, and nearly all the hits do come back to talking about GPS, which is trilateration. Well, actually it's multilateration, but trilateration, that's fine, because you use 4 satellites. And so, being the first they are, they just assumed that means trilateration means you have to use radio signals, which you don't. It's locating your distance. Locating your position based on the distances to several known points, be they GPS or not sighted mountains. Anyway, I did a spoof video where I made phone calls to 3 people. They told me how far away I was, and I could trilaterate. Lots of reasons like that. But of course, none of this they'd mentioned before. Incidentally, with Mitch and trilateration, I said to him, I offered £100, a nice easy £100, since he obviously knew about trilateration. All he had to do was give me one YouTube timestamp link to any one of his lots of he's jumped in again. Hello. Oh, he's here, colon. Okay, lovely. Thank you, pal. So if you can let him know, I'll bring him in shortly. Any one of his previous streams, or actually videos, where he had actually mentioned, discussed, or said anything about trilateration. No. All we got was the sound of crickets, very loud crickets, and no timestamp links to trilateration. Yeah, he was busted. And then who stepped into the breach? Mr. Flatsoid FE from South Africa. He's our South African friend who once again tried to claim diplomatic immunity. And he, of course, had seen 10th Man's video. And so he was arguing that you have to use radio signals. Boom. And he was also arguing that it's triangulation because you have a triangle. That typical diagram you see. Observer, the GP of the star, star. Now, that diagram has got a triangle in because it's simplified just to give you the general gist that you're trying to get the elevation of a star. But in actual fact, star's light comes in parallel rays, you've got the curve, and you've got two positions on the curve. You've got an angle between them. That's all you're trying to establish, which gives you a distance in nautical miles, which is minutes of arc, degrees around the curve, minutes of arc around the curve. So by definition, they're using a globe. But what is it Mr. Flatsoid FE said? Now I've got this set up, you just bear with me a second. Hopefully I'm looking at the right window. Where are we? Yes, let me drag this into place. Mr. Flatsoid FE said, "Ha ha! Mr. S, I thought you would bite. I thought you would bite. It's a trap!" Because apparently it's another trap. And I said, oh dear, watch the vid later and add your comments and I'll pin them. He did make comments, but they were quite late and I'd already pinned someone else for this. Oh, Brian Leakey for his stupid. And then he said, my hook got you caught deep. I thought it would. So looking forward to it. And actually, subsequent to that, he has posted somewhere that I did. It's a trap! Fall into his trap. And he was working on a video that night, which was about 3 nights ago, if I recall correctly, showing how I had fallen into his trap. But I'm still waiting, and I'm also trying to find which window to switch off. There we go. I'm still waiting for that Flatsoid FE. I posted a comment earlier on tonight asking when this response will be, because I'm dying to know. I'm absolutely dying to know. Is Admiral Akbar correct? It's a trap! I don't know, because I can't for the life of me think what trap I've fallen into. Looks at my notes again. In other news, Mr. 42, are you still in there, Mr. 42? I hope you're in there, Mr. 42. Mr. 42 did an excellent little video in the past couple of days, and I do recommend it. Perhaps one of the mods, or even Mr. 42, can post a link to it in the channel. Mr. 42 has been looking at that app, the 24-hour, 24-hour star, moon, clock, zodiac crap map app thing. Because Mr. 42 spotted it wasn't very secure, because you've got to find my friend, flat earth friend, cuddle buddy for when you're crying, something like that. Some map which shows you where all the flat earthers are. And Mr. 42 spotted it was insecure, nay, very insecure. So he put out a video showing how it's insecure. In fairness, Wes Wally had emailed David Weiss, DITRH, several times, or I believe it's several times, but certainly several weeks before, informing him of this, and David did nothing about it. So 42 did a video showing how wide open the app was to abuse. But I am going to give full credit to David Weiss, because 42 emailed him as well as doing the video. David has taken it on board. David disabled the app for a while, I think it was this afternoon, but he's up, or maybe it's yesterday, he's updated it, or got his people, and he'll get his people to talk to our people, you know how it goes. He got his people to fix it, which is good, because no one should be doxxed, be they globe or flat earth. But what's more, do you know what David Weiss did? David Weiss, as a thank you, made a PayPal payment to Mr. 42 of, I think, $100. Well done, David. I think that was spot on. You took on board the risk to the users of your app, you got it fixed, and you thanked financially. the person who did it. So well done 42 and Where's Wally for dealing with that. Well done David Weiss for actually getting it fixed. So I want to give credit where it's due. Now before I go on any further, I just want to have a quick check because I'm not sure, because screens were scrolling. Yes, there was. Sofa King Sleepy super chatted $2 US. If a triangle has sides of 1, 1 and 1, what shape is it?
Now, David, Sofa King, that's an excellent question and one that's been much on my mind in recent weeks.
But actually, I'm more concerned with what colour should it be? That's really worrying. I mean, is a triangle that's yellow correct? Do you want triangles that can be nasally fitted? You can ask Mr. 42 about that. Don't know. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. What else have we got? Oh, right. I'm going to change the order of these things on the big board. 1 minute debunks. Excellent response so far. I already do have enough 1 minute debunk videos for the special live stream, which will be shortly before Christmas. But I had extended the deadline to the 7th. That's next Tuesday. And I am more than happy to add more. The more the merrier. Okay, so please, if you've been thinking about it or had started and thought, oh, I've run out of time, you haven't yet, have a go. 1 minute debunk on anything, flat, globe, well, anything, but I want to steer away from trying to debunk religion. You can debunk parts of it, like, say, Noah's Ark, that's fine. I don't want to have videos covering politics, and because the whole topic is fraught with danger and is not one I want to cover on this channel, really. Avoid anything to do with C19 and jabs in the arm, if you get my drift, he asked them knowingly. Okay, 60 seconds long, doesn't have to be flashy, doesn't have to be fancy, you don't have to have a YouTube channel. We can work out how to get the video to me. Okay, it's not a critique on someone's filming, editing, sound editing, graphic skills or anything like that. All we want is 1 minute debunks. They can be funny, they can be serious. As I said before, we actually on this channel on a 1 minute debunk show had a brand new flat earth debunk which I and others have used, which was Mr. His name escapes me right now. Oh man, oh, someone will remember it. I do apologise. It was right on the tip of my tongue, with toe tanks. His name will probably pop up in my mind in a minute. So have a go, okay? You can just DM me or email me. Links are below. Or if you've got a YouTube channel, put your video up unlisted so no one else sees it and send me the link and I can download it. It's fun, okay? And it really is just for fun, because it most definitely is not. It's a trap! Okay, right. The other thing is, now I'm not sure if anyone else has spotted this. I have spotted something extremely strange during my researches. Let me just get onto the right tab and switch this on. I'm wondering what people think of this. And I do realise I do have that flat earther waiting in the waiting room. Won't be much longer, my friend. We'll get you on, okay? Right, let me just get this switched on. Mr. Nathan Oakley. Now, don't worry, we're not going to play a single second of one of Mr. Oakley's videos. But I was having a look, as you do, at Mr. Oakley's channel. He's got an awful lot of videos, most of which have 1,000, 696 views, 1.2k, 2.1. Well, that was a good one then. Yeah, it says lots and lots of videos. And I spotted one that had quite a high number of views. I looked at it again a day later and it jumped from about 6,500 to 10,000 views. Oh, I didn't mean to play it. I accidentally clicked it. So 10,000, let me go back to it. 10,000 views. Where was it? Yes, this one. And I thought, well, why is that? So I went to have a look at the actual video, just in case he had some whiz-bang keywords in it, or if it was a hot topic, and it was none of that. I could not understand it. So I had a look at his Social Blade page, where you can get readings on the details of stats of YouTube channels. And here's his views coming through from November 19th through to the 2nd of December. And all of a sudden, on one day, he's jumped from 1.5 to nearly 5,000 to 12.7 thousand views, which is the time I was looking at this video. Now that is mighty odd, isn't it? What could make him shoot up like that just on that one video? So I had another look, and this is that video. I'm not going to play it. It's all about cults, apparently, which he should be an expert in because he's part of one, but that's by the by. And I thought, well, this video has been out since 22nd of October. I'd seen it jump from 6,500 to, which is a lot for him anyway, so it may have already been shooting up, to 10,000. And I thought, this is very odd. So I had a look at the comments. If you sort the comments with newest first, the newest comment was a month ago. So how come he gets 12,000 views? I'm sure that some are for his other videos as well. So let's say that 4,000 of those were for other videos. That would still be 8,000 views and not a single comment on the video. New comment. It's all very puzzling, and I don't know the answer, but I thought it was interesting enough to show people. So I don't know what people's views are on that. We shall see. So to round up, Mr. Mitchell from Australia, Mr. 10th Man Rising, Flatzoid FE, David Weiss, I'm going to throw you in there as well, and Mr. Nathan Oakley. Maybe you need to ask for an apology, but then forgiveness is between you and God. My job is just to arrange the meeting. I see I've got a couple of super chats in, so let me just read. Well, I say a couple. I saw one anyway, so let me just read it, see what we got. Oh, it is a couple. Thank you very much. We have a super chat for £5 from Second Best Bob. Thanks, Bob. Saying, all I really care about is I'm getting a new puppy just after Christmas, 2 years after losing my last dog. Well, Bob, I genuinely feel for you with regard to the loss of your new loss of your old dog, and I trust you're really going to enjoy and love the new one. I know it's never a replacement; it'll be different. It'll be wonderful. I'm genuinely pleased for you. And another one from Mr. Now Pinion for 55 Swedish krona. Mr. Sensible, I just want to say that you are awesome. Now, I'm not going to go into details. Mr. Nalpinion's not saying that about tonight. It's about something else. And Mr. Nalpinion, that was my total and absolute pleasure to do what I did. Okay? And I look forward to hearing how it goes. That's private, everyone. No one else has heard. And I've just had another super chat from Ira Gwynn for £5 saying, have some pennies. A lot of pennies. Thank you. I believe that's 500 of them, Ira. Very, very kind of you. And just before we change tack and bring in this flat earther, I was just doing a final check, because as I said before, the one thing I hate, absolutely hate, is when I've missed a super chat. And I always feel so terribly guilty. So, tonight we have, so you've got a 30 seconds warning, Mr. Flat Earther sat in the live waiting room. Okay, I'll bring you in just a tick. We'll allow for the delay. So this Flat Earther is one who I've done videos on, and I poke fun at him gently, and he's responded. He has come on this channel. We've chatted several times, very nice and politely, and we've not agreed about everything, but it's been very, very civil. So let's bring him in and make sure we've got everything going. Get the audio switched on. See, because I'm a professional. I got it. I'm not going to screw it tonight, I hope. That's famous last words, isn't it? Okay, let's get him in. So tonight we have Mr. Kyle Adams from the Flat Earth Institute of Science. Good evening to you, Kyle. Can you hear me? Let me try that again, because I'm muted on here. Oh, I said it was too good to be true. We have here Mr. Kyle Adams. Kyle, hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, we got you. Hiya, how are you? How's your family, all right?
We're all doing really well. It's been a lot of fun including him in more of my videos more recently.
Ah, good stuff, good stuff. Actually, I want to say something to you, Kyle, and I want everyone else here to hear it because it's to your credit, okay? I had forgotten totally what this was, and I suddenly got a message out of the blue from Kyle saying, "Hey, Mr. S," or words to that effect, "your prediction was correct." And so I said, "Kyle, what prediction? I can't remember." Was it to do with scales? It was some experiment. Yeah. And
it was the elevator experiment.
Elevator experiment. Yeah. So Kyle had done, and actually I did see that video. Kyle had done an experiment and actually found that what I had said previously had been correct. But as I said, to Kyle's absolute credit, he didn't try and hide it. He didn't ignore it. He came directly to me and said, "Hey, Mr. S, you were correct," for which I want to give you absolute credit, Kyle, because that's absolutely right. Anyone could be wrong about something. It's you went to the effort of doing an experiment to try and find out. You had some results. You didn't fudge the results. You found that results were not as you expected, but as I had predicted, and you quite honestly and openly came out and said that. So 10 out of 10. I really, really appreciate. I loved having that message. I really appreciated it.
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed giving that to you. It was really fun to have my mind blown in such a way. I was just like, whoa! I was not expecting those results whatsoever.
So, people knock flat earthers, and I'll be honest, generally, they can be. I don't want to paint everyone with the same brush, but there's a general tendency to either try and ignore the evidence or hide the evidence. Look at Bob Nadell when he got his 15 degrees. Well, suddenly that had to be heavenly energies, and so he put his ring laser gyroscope in some sort of Faraday cage. Of course, he still got the same results, and then I believe he tried to cover it up in some other way. We've got others like that. So it is really, really refreshing. You're not the first, but I'll be honest, it's quite rare. So when you came forward, I thought that's absolutely brilliant, and I wanted to make sure people knew that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because I'm sure we're not going to agree on everything. No. And that's
when we
fine.
do agree on something, that's really significant.
Right, but the reason you're on here tonight is you contacted me again out of the blue and said that you wanted to ask me something. But before you do, I'm wondering...
It's a trap!
Is it a trap? No, I don't know. So I am totally unprepared. I have no idea what this is you're going to ask me.
Okay, well, on my channel, I've been progressively making a bigger and bigger deal about common ground, finding common ground with people, just as you brought up here about how we found common ground and finding that thing that we agreed upon. When I said, "Oh wow, these results show that you're right." Remember that? Mm-hmm. You just barely brought that up. So common ground is just something that two parties totally agree upon, that they feel comfortable in acknowledging. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been progressively making a bigger and bigger deal about common ground, and stating no one ever truly wins a debate until common ground has been established. And the whole purpose of a debate is to persuade someone, and whether it's like an audience or just an individual, right?
I partly agree with you, because it would be good. Let's say we were having a debate now. It would be good if either I was able to present enough evidence to convince you, or the other way round. But it could also be that, let's say, well, either way round, you or I present enough evidence that everybody else can see that one party is right and the other is wrong. Even let's say it's this way round. I've presented evidence. You're still not convinced, but everyone else could see, because from my point of view, And I guess from your point of view, you'd want to show evidence that shows that you're correct to the audience, and then hopefully they've either learnt something or they know that some other idea is not correct. So, the idea would be to persuade the opposition, but I don't think that's the only purpose of a debate. Do you know what I mean? It can be to show other people as well.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, you just said you're talking to. In this instance, you just mentioned here, you found common ground with the audience, and that's the material that changed their mind. Oh, okay. He said this. I agree with that, and because you and the audience made that connection, that's what persuaded them. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, it's whether you're talking with an audience watching or whether you're just talking to another person. Unless you can establish common ground, you're just spinning your wheels, and no one makes any progress in either direction.
All right.
And so I just wanted to. I've been going through kind of a quest in trying to establish significant common ground. The moment you can do that, I feel like that's where you can kind of nail people's views down, I guess you could say. And that way they're not moving the goalpost all over the place.
Okay. Well, before you then go into it, this is aimed at you, really, but I've had another super chat from Ira Gwynn for £5 saying, the professor is here. We are going to get owned. All right. So a friendly dig at you. Go ahead then. Go ahead.
Yeah. In the very beginning here, with everything, I like just most basic common ground that we can come up with, which is the word science. Just going to ask you, how do you define science?
Right. Well, I'm going to describe it rather than define it. I'm going to describe it as an open and honest quest to find out the reasons behind why things are as they are, through the use of evidence and using experiments to test and then replicate those tests to rule out the paths that are incorrect. Sorry, I know that's a bit woolly.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's your definition. I think when it comes directly from you, instead of being exactly written, it's a little bit more personal that way.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a quest to learn, and actually, Kyle, and I can't remember the name, but it's a genuine story. Okay, I just can't remember the names. There was some great scientist. I think he was a physicist, describing something, doing some lecture, and his enemy, if you like, someone else who held a different view of how these things were. At the end of the lecture, he'd been persuaded. Okay, his life's work was shown to be wrong. Okay, do you know what he did? He went up to the guy who gave the lecture, crying, or with tears in his eyes, and thanked him for showing him what was actually correct, because he'd managed to provide enough evidence. So that was a true scientist. His whole life was, and his work and his the things he was trying to show turned out to be wrong, but he was happy because now he knew what was right. And
that, like, he was able to make that connection. It's all about making connections with people, and whoever the presenter was in that instance sounds like he was an expert at making connections with people.
Well, he obviously had the right theory, had the right evidence to support that theory, and was enough to show the other guy that he couldn't possibly be right. Now, I mean, some people might get angry or storm out, or because basically their understanding or belief, to use it in the sort of wider sense of the term, had been shown to be wrong. But no, he was happy to be shown to be shown that he was wrong, because now he knew what appeared to be right, and he could move on from there. So, yeah.
Sounds like they had great common ground.
Well, yeah, on that day they did anyway. Yeah.
Or that established anyway. So, my general definition that I always go with is science is the systematic knowledge of the physical or material world gained through observation and experimentation, which I think sounds a lot like what you just barely said.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think I'd disagree with that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's really great common ground to have. So with that, I'm going to ask. I often hear people throw around that flat earthers are anti-science. Are you one of those people who says flat earthers are anti-science? And if so, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think, let's say this is your day one, okay? You step out of the house as an adult, it's day one, you've no idea what's outside. You look, I think, saying, do you know what? I think the world is flat. That is a totally reasonable and understandable first position to take. Okay, that the Earth looks flat, that you can't feel it moving, that the stars and the sun are wheeling around overhead. I think that's a totally understandable and honest first case position, because the evidence at face value would appear to support that. Now, if you stop then, you're not being scientific, because you should do tests to test it. You know, how could we test to see if the Earth is turning? How could we determine if the stars are rotating or we are rotating, and so on? And you devise tests, get the results of those tests, or make other observations, take measurements, and so on, and then see if your initial theory of the Earth is flat and the stars wheeling overhead still holds true. Now, with certain of those tests, they wouldn't be able to determine which way, because if you looked and watched the sun during the day, yeah, it's moved, but actually, has the sun moved or have we moved? You can't tell just with that, staring at the sun for a day. So you could just rest on your laurels and say, right, well, the sun moves, but that wouldn't be honest. So you'd need to devise more and better tests until you can rule one out, because you never rule one totally 100% in, and just science doesn't prove that the sun is moving, but science can prove that the Earth is not. Well, prove is a dangerous word, but you know what I mean. Can evidence that the Earth is not stationary. So if you can rule that out, then your new theory that the sun is moving so far holds true. So you could do yet further tests to see if you could show that is true, or if perhaps it's some sort of illusion or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, so I've got, just listening to you right there, I think we've got two major grounds, or common ground bricks, I'll call them. That would be, one is that we both agree on the definition of science, and two is we both agree that it's okay to establish the flat Earth as a hypothesis. It's a valid hypothesis.
Yeah. Well, it's totally, anything is valid as a hypothesis. I'm not taking the mickey, but a hypothesis could be that the Earth is flat and it's resting on turtles. That's a hypothesis. So you'd have to think of ways to test that hypothesis. Otherwise, it's just pulling an idea out of your butt and just going with it, which is not good. You said flat Earth is anti-science. Some are not. Excuse me. Some are not. In the case of the experiment you, well, I was just going to say, in the case of that experiment that you ran, which I made a prediction for, you made a prediction, that was scientific to devise an experiment to test it, to look at the evidence, and in your case, revise your position based on that evidence. That is scientific, absolutely. Then you have someone like Ranty Flat Earth, who was very much a flat earther, devised all sorts of experiments which, to his mind, did not disprove a flat Earth, or even, to his mind, seemed to disprove a globe, until he came across the Blackpool Tower photo. And for him, that was a defining moment when he could see that the evidence presented before him could not work on a flat Earth, but would work on a globe. So he changed his position, and it was such a killer for him, he gave up flat Earth. Again, so that is scientific. So, yeah, he's not a flat earther now, but he was a flat earther behaving in a scientific manner. But there are others who will just lie, and that is anti-scientific. So I'm not casting you amongst them. Certainly not with the experiment you did.
I really appreciate the fact that you're not making the hyper generalization of saying all flat earthers are exactly the same.
No, because they're not.
It's admirable. Yeah, I talk to way too many people who just clump all flat earthers into one category and just assume that they're all exactly the same. And yeah, so the fact that you can see that is great.
All right, I've just been asked to make you a bit louder, so let me try and do that. I'll turn your volume up a bit. Can you just say something, Kyle?
Okay, I'm speaking now.
I'm going to turn you up a little more. Hopefully, people, Kyle is better. Your voice does it does tend to be quite a quiet voice, but I've boosted your volume a bit, so hopefully that will help.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it is wrong to literally bunch everyone in together. I'd be honest and say that my honest opinion is that not all, but the vast majority of the flat earthers are not being honest. Not because they disagree, because Ranty disagreed, but he disagreed holding an honest position and was able to move. On this thing with the elevator and the scales or whatever it was, you held an honest position, you honestly ran the test, you looked at the evidence and you changed your position. And I know you did it before as well. This is not the first time, because do you remember that image of a sphere, a ball, and you thought that the curve should always, the hump of the curve should always be in the centre, and I explained and showed you some images, and you, I'm not sure if you actually tested it or if you just sort of said, actually, yeah, I see what you mean, but you revised your position. So that's good.
I've done that with a number of things. Just in my discussions with you, when we did the whole observing the whole mage footage, that actually caused me to go back and rewrite a whole bunch of my material.
Oh yes, you did, yeah. So I do enjoy having you on here, Kyle. Okay, I mean, yes, between flat earthers and the globe side, both sides make fun of each other, and that's fine. I do tease you. There's no spite there. The only person
I can sense that
Yeah.
that we can. We're pretty respectful.
Yeah, and I don't. You know, I get teased about my lovely hairstyle, for instance, quite a lot. And that, again, that's fine. There's only one or maybe two people who I think are just downright, not be funny, disgusting. Well, one is Nathan Oakley. I'm happy to name him. Everyone thinks that. I pretty much think. I think he's a despicable person. The way he treats people, whether he really believes in flat Earth or not, it's just despicable. Trying to make money by just being abusive to people. And the other one is Sleeping Warrior, because there's been a couple of things. There was the business of the disablest hate speech he aimed at myself. And I can't remember who, but about 3 or 4 other Globe people, to the extent that the police had to get involved. And then, of course, he then carried on and made comments against Conspiracy Cats, hinting that he felt that Conspiracy Cats was a pedophile, which I think is disgusting. You attack Conspiracy Cat's opinions, try and debunk his evidence, that's fine. Call him silly names, that's fine. He's a big boy, he can take it. But that was just disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So those two people, I think, are disgusting, definitely. But most of the rest,
There's definitely a light side and a dark side of persuasion, and when you get into like the bully tactics, that's the dark side.
the dark side.
So we want to stay away from. We want to stay away from the dark side.
I've got a couple more super chats. Oh, hold on, I didn't refresh. Let me just read those, Kyle, because I'm really enjoying this. Right. One's a question to you. Earth is Life. Good evening to you, Earth is Life. Super chat $5. Ask him his thoughts on Southern Hemisphere flights, particularly the one from Argentina to Australia, QFA 14, 9,124 miles in 17 hours, 41 minutes. Well, I'll come back to that in a second, if I may. And Sarcastic Barman, super chat, £2, saying, your hair is so awesome, it's invisible. Yeah. Thanks, Barman. And how are you, pal? Yeah, Earth is Life. That is an interesting question. I mean, I'll open it to Kyle in a second. He may have no knowledge of that flight, but it's not why he's here tonight. But do you know anything of that flight, Kyle?
I don't know anything about that particular flight, but I've got a lot of information on just southern flights. That's kind of one of the big flat Earth evidences out there is the routes that different planes take, and then we also do videos talking about the jet streams and about how airplanes use jet streams to get from point A to point B in a much faster time frame.
Well, there certainly is tailwinds and headwinds, absolutely, which can affect the speed. QFA, so it's QFA 14. So I would suggest, Carl, have a look. I'm sure if you Google on YouTube, there'll be something about it. But it was a flight between Argentina and Australia, which was a direct flight and passed over at least a portion of Antarctica. I can't remember all the details, but it would make sense on a globe, and it's very, very hard to see how it would make sense on a flat Earth, and I believe the journey on a flat Earth would have been vastly different. So, but I am being fair to, or want to be fair to Kyle. Kyle didn't come on here for a debate. Any questions I will open to Kyle if he wishes to answer and feels comfortable answering, okay? But Kyle's come on here at his request because he wanted to ask me some stuff. And
I'm all about enriching that relationship, and that's the whole thing is when you tear down relationships and throw rocks at people and just treat them like garbage, and that's just gonna encourage them to build up walls. And so you're attacking me, and then they're gonna build up walls, and you can't persuade people very easily doing that. The only way that ends up being is like terrorism, when you're throwing you're going to do this, you're going to listen to me or else. And that's just the wrong way to go. But when we take down walls by establishing positive relationships and enriching those relationships, that's for real effective communication and persuasion can take place. And so that's one of the great things I love about my relationship here with Mr. Sensible, is because I feel like we have that. We've got this relationship of trust that is something that we're continually building, like every time we talk to each other.
Well, it's good to talk, and I mean, from my point of view, over time, maybe it's the same for you the other way around, but from my point of view, over time, I'd like to for us to cover more and more things, and I hope to be able to evidence and persuade you, and maybe at one point in the future you turn around and say, do you know what, actually, Mr. S, I now think it's a globe. That would be the ideal for me. I'm sure that for you it might be the other way around. That's fine.
But we can't get there without having those blocks of common ground to build upon, and unless we have that, we're just spinning our wheels, getting nowhere again.
But you see, I've had debates with a few people, not as many debates as I'd like, because I quite enjoy it, but I'll be honest, most of them seem to... Sorry, if anyone sees that pinned message, I tried to unpin it, I accidentally retracted it, it's staying there as a retracted message, sorry about that. So I've debated a few people. I'm more than willing to talk openly with people. I'll have a bit of fun as well, but talk openly and give people respect. But of course, I'd like it back the other way as well, and I'm sure you do as well. Why would you come on a channel just to be abused? So I've had some others on here. I mean, there's a guy, Gary Wybenga. He's not really someone I've likely to debate, but he was very much been the butt of a lot of jokes. And he very much had a trolling sort of attitude on the channel, but we sort of come to an understanding. He's welcome to the channel. He's made posts which I and 99.99% of other people here disagree with, but we've, to use your terminology, we found a common ground where he can exist here on the channel, express his views, and we're happy to have him here. And he has trusted me enough to come on to voice, I think twice, briefly, but twice. The same with Multi Tom Tom. He's come on once, and that's a big thing because I'm not aware of him going on anyone else's channel. So I found that very gratifying, that he felt maybe they were a bit nervous about would I suddenly try a gotcha on them, but I found it gratifying that they trusted me enough to come on here. On the other hand, I've had someone who was a total idiot right the hand. He was despicable, and he was foul, and he was lying, and I had evidence to show it all. And then we had a debate arranged, and he just came in the side chat. He wouldn't come on the stream, so I actually put a 15-minute timer on him to come on the stream, which he didn't. And then I released all the evidence because he was despicable, and I felt he deserved it. He didn't give me respect, so I gave him none back. I wouldn't dream of doing that to you, Kyle, because we chat nicely. We present evidence when we're sort of going back and forth with videos. Tonight, that's not the sort of thing we're doing tonight. I have got another super chat. Excuse me 1 second. Then I better let you talk a bit more, Kyle. From Jeff C for $5 Canadian, and he says, "We do not want to pick on flat earthers. We want to show you the science that proves the world is a globe." Absolutely, and thanks for that, Jeff. Yeah, I mean, Kyle, if you came out tonight and said, "Do you know what, Mr. S? I am now convinced that the Earth is a globe," that would be celebrated. Not any sort of "haha, we told you so."
Evidence to get there. We need a lot more common ground before you can get to that point.
Okay, that's fair enough. Hey, we're on a journey. But I'm happy chatting. But did you have some specific questions about flat or globe then? Or was it more about the? Sorry, go on.
This is the preliminary work, and so I've just kind of, these are some basic things I've established in my very first lesson of my curriculum. Is just lesson 1 right here is, what is science? What is evidence? That's my next question here for you. How do you describe evidence?
Evidence.
How do you define that? I'm wondering if that's common ground for us, or if we define that differently, because a lot of people out there state that flat earthers have no evidence, and so I'm like, well, that really depends on how you define evidence.
Yeah, well, evidence could be observations, visual observations, although then visual observations are subject to distortion, be that refraction, or if they're photographs that's processing. Other measurements, and measurements could be as simple as using a ruler or a set of scales, but I mean, there's plenty of other means of measuring things. Those are all items of evidence. I know that you're a religious person, and just so that you're aware, because I'm not sure if I've expressed it to you, I'm not a religious person, but I have no problem with people having religions, as long as they're not religions, they're not taking their religion and trying to shove it down your throat. I have no problem at all with you being religious. But what I do not regard as evidence is someone saying, well, this is the case because it says so in the Bible or the Torah or whatever.
It's an appeal to an authority kind of statement, but you don't regard the Bible as an authority, so it kind of loses all power with you. I get that.
The thing is, I don't want to try and talk about or try and debunk any particular thing, but let's just take, just for the sake of argument, Noah's Ark, okay?
Okay.
So if someone says, well, Noah had an ark because it says so in the Bible, that's not enough. That's not evidence. That is a claim. But one evidence could be, is it possible to build a wooden boat of that size? And all the evidence that I've seen shows that it isn't, because the boat of that sort of length would bend and flex, and wood would then separate, and you get leaking, and it would basically break up. So that could be, if you actually could build a boat of that size, that could be some evidence for it, saying, look, we built a boat that big, and so it's possible.
Okay. So
the claim saying Noah built a boat this long is not evidence. That's a hypothesis, if you like, but then you'd have to demonstrate it with an experiment.
So the way I have evidence defined is just an indication or sign of something. It's grounds to believe in something. And so what you're saying here with Noah's Ark is you don't see any indications or signs work for you, because you don't see the Bible as an indication of anything actually happening. It's just another book.
No, because if
I were to read Grimm's fairy tales or something like that, I wouldn't see, this Little Red Riding Hood or some. I'm trying to think of a little more specific.
It was Brer Rabbit, wasn't when I can't remember. It's years since I read it.
There's a lot of interesting things that just sound impossible, like being able to cut someone out of someone's stomach and they're alive.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I had a book here that said the moon is made of cheese, okay, that's a hypothesis. It could be, but that's not evidence. That would be a claim, or as I said, at best, some sort of hypothesis. You then need to claim, you then need to test it. However that is, whether it's visiting it or taking some readings that would show that the material it was made of, or so on. So I would say that the Bible is not evidence of anything.
It's not really an observation, right?
No, it's not. You could regard it as a hypothesis. You could say, look, I've got this book called the Bible, and I think it might be right. So what it says, about Noah, creation, and all these things could be true. Okay, and that's fine. But I would not say you could say that it's evidence, because you'd need to repeat it. Sorry?
I was going to say, it's something a little bit different when you're talking to someone who has that whole, the Bible is it kind of a mentality where they see that as absolute truth and the all-out authority on everything. Does that make sense? And so if you're talking to someone who believes that, then you can bring up an appeal to an authority because they view that as an authority. That's kind of an observation to them. But for you, you don't view the Bible as an authority, so that's like, okay, so what? That's not an observation of anything other than it's written down in a book. And there's a million books out there
and that's from whichever side. Just having it saying in a book, it's a globe. That's not enough. That although that might be describing the results of an experiment which show it's a globe. But if I just had a book that said, oh, the Earth is a globe, that's not evidence. That would be a claim that requires substantiation. Incidentally, I've had a super chat from Walter Bislin, the excellent Walter Bislin, who did a lot of work as well, very kindly, on my processing mage images and doing calculations. And of course, he is of the Earth Curve calculator fame. That's enough shilling for you, Walter. But do check out his pages. A super chat for 5 Swiss francs. For later, you can show my analysis of the QF14 GPS flight data on globe and flat Earth. I have plots of the flight on both models. The link is in the chat. Yeah, I have actually seen that, Walter, and this is where I say, whoosh, that went straight above my head. It's some complicated math. I'm not the best mathematician, I'm certainly not, and I'm more than willing to admit that. So please, people, have a look at Walter's channel and the link that's there. And I've had another super chat, so I'll read that before we carry on, from Jeff C again, for $5 Canadian, saying, as a Christian, I treat the Bible in 3 phases: mythology, legend, and historical. The ark is mythology, Christ's ancestry is legend, and I guess you ran out of space in your super chat. So historical. I mean, yeah, there is historical stuff there, definitely. I mean, Caesar, the cities, the geography. There's lots of stuff in there which is historical because it was written at that sort of time. I have no doubt that there were real people. And Kyle, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be at all surprised if there was a guy going round as a preacher or a prophet whose name was Jesus. I can't disprove that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the case. But no, this isn't a debate or an argument about religion tonight, anyway.
I don't say the Bible proves the Earth is flat. I say that the Earth is flat ends up proving the Bible in the instances that describe the Earth is flat in the Bible. Does that make sense? One is dependent upon the other, not the other way around.
Okay. Well, sorry, Kyle. These chats are flowing in. I'm going to read these 2 in reverse order. Judy Bassett, thank you, Judy. Super chat €5, saying, I am religious, but faith is not scientific evidence. So actually, that's quite interesting, because that's at least 2 people who have super chatted tonight who have expressed either that they're religious or that they are have Christianity as a religion. So that does show that, and I know you're not claiming otherwise, but it does show that people can be religious, people can be Christians, and accept that the Earth is a globe. Because let's be honest, with flat earthers, they're in a very, very small minority, and yet religious people, there's a large number of them, and a large number of those are Christians who have no problem at all with it being a globe. But Now Pinion has also super chatted 219 Swedish krona. Now Pinion, I'm not sure what a Swedish krona's worth. Should I retire, or does that mean I can buy a bar of chocolate? I don't know, but thank you. He said, Kyle, you are involving your kids in your videos. I'm concerned that you're teaching them that the entire world is a lie. I'm also involving my kids in my videos, but our experiments rely on actual science and facts. Now, I've seen both sides. I've seen Now Pinion's video, and actually, well, Little Miss Now has appeared before, but Now Pinion, for those who are not aware, is currently doing a series of videos with his daughter, Little Miss Now, a sort of advent calendar of flat earth debunks. Nice little videos, Kyle. Now, please keep it up. So yeah, he's doing scientific experiments with his daughter, Kyle. Now, I know you did a video just recently about the moon, didn't you? Or distance to the moon with a sheet.
Yep.
I did see that. I know I hadn't commented or responded, and I felt happy about some aspects, but quite uncomfortable about another aspect, Carl, if you don't mind me saying. I thought, first of all, I thought that's really nice that you're doing stuff like now is with your. It was your daughter, wasn't it? Yeah. I thought that was really nice. And you were doing an experiment, which I may or may not agree with whether it's valid, as in it would show anything or not. That was fine, but in one point, I believe it was you said something about, but these are NASA lies, and I did feel uncomfortable about that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did feel uncomfortable about that, because I think you need to be more open. You may disagree with something NASA says, but I would ask you to be more open to the fact that even if you felt they were wrong about something, it's not because they're lying, but perhaps they've made a mistake about something. But if you tell your daughter they lie, then she's never going to listen to them and won't know what bits they say are No, I would say that 99.99% of what they say is correct, but they may make an odd error. You know, anyone can, or knowledge improves. But if you just tell people, or your daughters, they're just liars, that's not being open to what evidence they're providing.
What I do is I just share the observations that I've found, and I just share that with them, and then they can make their own decision about that. And I don't try to push anything on them. They all go to
Hello? Kyle, have we lost you? Oh no. He's still sat in the room.
I'm here.
You went quiet. You said I thought you just disconnected in some way. You said you don't push them, and then it stopped.
Don't push them. I don't push my kids on any side of the debate here. I just share the evidence with them and let them decide for themselves. And so, yeah, when she gave you that response, that was all her.
Oh, sorry. So it was her who said. Was it her who said NASA lies, or yourself that said NASA lies?
That was her response.
Was it? So I do beg.
That or anything.
So, yeah. Well, like I said, I was uncomfortable about that. I know it's a difficult thing.
I'm under that impression too, by the way. Yeah, I'm very much under that impression too, just based on the observations that I've had throughout the past, just watching their footage. And
sorry,
so
sorry, you're under the impression that they're liars as well.
Yes.
So, for instance, let's say pick one subject, the moon landing. Is it that you think that they're mistaken in some of the things they said, or do you hold the position they're positively deciding to tell untruths about something like that?
I positively believe that the moon landing was faked.
Well, I'll tell you what, Kyle. If you like, let's organise you know that we can have a friendly debate. Would you be up for not tonight because neither of us are prepared? Would you be up for having a friendly debate on something like that? We can organise exact topic, but something like was the moon landing fake? I'm not trying to bully or push you, because if you say no, that's fine. Okay, 100. Even if someone in the chat says, "Oh, you run away," forget that. I wouldn't think that. If you decide not to, that's fine. Maybe do you not do debates?
I do debates, yeah, for sure. I'm just kind of thinking on this one on what kind of common ground I'm going to go for on that one, and what kind of common ground I can reach with you. Because if I can't establish any kind of common ground with you, and we just look at the same footage, and you say one thing and I say another, then we're just exploring ideas and sharing our information with the public, but our stances aren't really changing. So that's kind of what makes it valuable to me, is knowing that I can actually establish common ground with that and make progress forward. But again, if we just share our information too, that's also valuable. Just getting the information out.
Well, let's hook up off stream, and we can have a chat and see if we can find something that we do want to talk about, or not. Let's see if we where we are. Okay, as I said, I'm honestly, I know some people, for instance, don't do debates. And maybe you're just not comfortable about doing that, and I'm not.
I'm open to it.
Okay. Well, let's have a chat offline where we're not under the microscope, and it can all be confidential, and we'll take it from there.
Again, my focus in a debate is establishing that common ground, though, and so that's going to be the major difference between me versus a lot of other people out there.
Excuse me. Okay. Well, I've had another couple of super chats. Some old dude. Super chat $5 US saying, "Hey, Mr. Sensible." Well, hey, some old dude. Yet again, thank you very much. And Cygnus TSP super chatted $5 US saying, "This is beginning to trigger me. My ex thought the moon was fake, etc., and started telling her kids not to trust what they learn in school. It's disgusting." I suppose that's where I'm coming from, Kyle. Let me tell you a very, very short little story. I've got 3 girls. And when we at that time only had the 2, the eldest one was perhaps about 7 or 8 years old, and we popped over to a friend's house across the road. I used to go over there sort of every now and then for a cup of coffee, and she was playing with one of their kids, and she did something. I'm not sure what it was. It was probably grabbed a toy or whatever, and the mum over there told her off, which I was fine about. They're good friends. Chastising the kids, sort of saying don't do that because it's not friendly or it's rude or whatever. That's fine. I have no issue with that. But she said, because if you do that, the police will come and they'll take you away. Now I thought that was absolutely terrible, because that sort of thought put into a child's mind is going to make them think, oh my goodness, the police are bad. I shouldn't trust the police, or they'll get me, or something like that. But what I wanted is for my kids to know that if ever they were in trouble, if they saw a police officer, that was the one person they should go to. I want them to have a high amount of trust in them. So what I'm saying is that if you make your children think that a certain group are just lying, then they're not actually looking at what that certain group are saying. They may end up disagreeing with them for honest reasons, because you and I can disagree, but I said the Earth is a globe. You think it's flat, but I hope you know that it's my honest position. I'm not lying to you. That's the position I hold. It's a position that you disagree with, but it's an honest position.
I just try to encourage my kids to, whenever they hear something at school, to look for the observations that back it up. I try to inform them about tiger traps, where different teachers or textbooks come out and say, "Oh, trust this because I said so," instead of saying, "You should believe this because there's this observation backing it up," and kind of looking for those kind of things. I think when they go through school paying attention to those kinds of things, it helps them become a better student in general. And it helps them ask better questions. There's a statement that says, memorize. And I can understand that memorization is important for some instances, like learning a language, but you want to understand the concept as to why things happen, not just this is the answer, I've got to memorize all these answers to get through this test. And that's the wrong approach to getting through school, because it's not the
because it depends. I mean, language was a good example. For instance, if you're doing Latin, remembering all the tenses and so on, you're going to need to memorise that. That's true. But I would agree, questions are good. And for your daughters to question something, I think is absolutely fine. Then that relies on decent teachers, ones who are open to being questioned, and then and you have to be careful, because you can't have one kid just asking endless questions, almost arguing, when they're trying to teach a lesson to a group of children. But having a comment or a question, I think, is a good thing. Do you know what? I was so lucky. I was always interested in astronomy, and I'm talking about in my middle school, the start of my middle school, was it? Or it may even been the end of my first school. And the headmaster was doing a little talk, and he was just basic talks, and he was saying, oh, and our galaxy is 100 light years across. And I put my hand up, and he said, yeah, what is it? I said, well, it's 100,000 light years across. And he said, no, it's 100. I thought, no, it's 100,000 light years. The next day, this is the headmaster of the school, he actually called me to him and said, do you know what, you were right, I made a mistake, it was 100,000 light years. So that was a brilliant teacher, because he didn't tell me off, obviously, for raising that. He said that I was wrong, although I was right, but then he corrected himself and had quite frankly, he had the balls to actually stand up in front of a 10-year-old kid and say, I was wrong, you were right, which was wonderful. You need teachers who can discuss and explain and answer questions.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a couple more super chats, so let's read those. Maxwell's Hammer 5, thank you, Maxwell. Super chat $4.99, saying, Kyle, you should research third-party evidence on the moon landings, plus more than 15,000 photos on film were taken by the Apollo missions.
Yeah, there's like over, I think it's like over 3,000 hours of Sesame Street on TV, and so there's no amount of film or footage that says, okay, sorry, you did not meet the measured film requirement in order for this to be established a fact. Or, oh, congratulations, you just got 3,000 hours. Now all of a sudden, this is a fact. There's no kind of line for that.
No, but that's an interesting, the Sesame Street argument. I've not heard that one before. But, I mean, we've heard people say that the photos were just faked, or that they're CGI, way before there was such a thing as CGI. These are images on negatives that are now kept super secure and in perfect conditions. I actually have, Carl, I don't know if you're aware, but I actually have a photograph, an original photograph from 1969 of Buzz Aldrin on the moon. So it's not one that they've printed recently. It was printed in 1969. It's an original, genuine NASA print, and it's actually autographed by Buzz Aldrin, no less. These are real photos. You're correct that photos can be faked much more easily nowadays, but virtually impossible back then. So if you had a photo, just one photo, I could, or maybe just a few photos, I could actually understand it. But the sheer quantity, including film, makes it impossible for it to be faked as film.
Now you're trying to say that Sesame Street is impossible to be fake because there's so much film out there.
Well, no. Well, perhaps we better. I would be interested to go through this, but perhaps we better leave it in case we do have this moon landing debate. And incidentally, I actually saw. I haven't seen him around for a while, but I saw him commented on one of my videos or something just today. There's a chap I know who is actually a senior. He's retired, a senior NASA test engineer. He worked with regard to the Gemini space program through the Apollo missions and onto some of the early space shuttle missions. And his name just escapes me right now. Is it Jim? I'm sure it's Jim. Yeah, because he's James. Oh, I've forgotten his surname. But he's been on the channel a couple times, and he worked for NASA. I've got photos of him. He actually was a test subject in one of the Gemini spacesuits, and he was put into a vacuum chamber, taken down to the vacuum of space, or as close as we can get, and as lower temperature as we could get. He was in one of those spacesuits. I've got a photo of it. I can try and dig it out, actually.
Already, it sounds like you're kind of making the same arguments that MC Toon made when he just recently did a big debate with Alex Stein, or Conspiracy Castle. That's his YouTube channel, and those two had this crazy debate, and MC Toon only brought up two arguments against Alex Stein. One was, I met an astronaut. The other one was, you've got photos of the moon. And so I'm just like, okay, if we do a debate on the moon landing, let's do a better job than those two things. Because I'm going to tell you that those two things. Just because, I've met an actor doesn't mean Pirates of the Caribbean is real. You know what I mean? Or any amount of footage. Oh, I've got this much footage. That doesn't mean Sesame Street is real. And so
right. Okay. Well, I mean, I really would like to do this because there's one piece of footage that I'm thinking of that you couldn't fake on Earth. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now because I don't want to, keep my powder dry. But there's a piece of footage that I know you will have seen before. It's one of the. It's not the first Apollo. It's one of the later Apollo missions. But a piece of footage that you could not have filmed on the Earth in a studio or something like that. You could not have done it. Okay. So yeah, I'm really up for it. So I would be keen if we could arrange something, Kyle.
With the Alex Stein and MC Toon debate, please forgive me. Alex Stein, that debate ended really sadly because Alex Stein got really heated in the moment, and then he just turned into a really poor sport. So
yes, and MC Toon, I believe, did absolutely the right thing to leave that debate.
So he turned into a really poor sport. I do not approve of poor sportsmanship, but the points that he made were really strong, and I thought those were excellent in general.
Well, I've got to be honest because I did see that, and I can't even remember the points that Stein made because it was swamped by his behaviour.
And so I can go ahead and I can write those down in a precise manner. I think I've actually already done that, and so we can kind of do that a little bit without getting into all of the poor.
Oh yeah,
poor sportsmanship.
Yeah,
tactics.
I know that we'll be able to talk, discuss, and even argue, Kyle. Without any nastiness. That's absolutely fine. Excuse me, there's another couple of super chats. They're flowing in nicely tonight. Thank you, guys. Again, I'm going to read them in reverse order because one's a question. Eric Hare super chatted $5 US. Thank you, Eric. Saying, my mom was very careful to not push the Mennonite faith but allow me to explore it. Terms like they lie would not be allowed from me either. Yeah, I nearly said to you earlier on, Carl, when we got distracted. I said I've got 3 daughters. Going back, at that time, my wife was religious. She's Christian. And so the question came, well, what do we do with the children? Because she wanted them brought up, in the church. I wanted them brought up, sort of more scientifically based.
Sounds like me in the public school system.
Yeah, but it's very difficult because they can't do both. So what we agreed on, and other parents will have different solutions, what we agreed on is that they would go to the church with her until such time as and I would explain things as I see it. Well, this is how my understanding of how the universe came about, or whatever. But so they would hear both sides, but they would go along to the church, so they'd get the relationships with the other people and so on, until such time as they said, "Well, I don't want to go." And if you said, "Well, why don't you want to go?" If they said, "Well, because I want to stay in bed and watch TV," that's not good enough. But until such time as, "Well, I don't believe." Why don't you believe? What they're saying in the church. Well, because I don't think that that's correct because of X, Y, and Z. And when they could give a cogent, is that the right word, cogent? When they could give a sensible explanation of why they no longer believed, then they no longer had to go to the church. And in fact, with the 3 daughters, the eldest stayed in the church. She still is. She does sort of missionary type work. The other 2 are not Christians at all. Well, actually, the youngest one is starting to turn that way again, because her boyfriend, I think, is Christian, but the middle one is not at all. It's a very difficult position. So that was Eric Hare was saying about that. But yeah, so I would never tell my kids. For instance, those people in the church, they're all liars. It's a cult. I wouldn't tell them that, but I would explain my scientific understanding of things, and my wife explained her churchy sort of side of things. So that was quite interesting. Difficult. But I said there was another super chat which is aimed at you, Kyle. It's a question. Again, I will say I'll leave it up to you if you want to answer. It's from someone called GPS. Super chat at $2 US. Thank you, GPS. Saying, Kyle, how does GPS work?
I've got a video about that.
Oh right. So okay. Perhaps one of the moderators. Do you remember what your video's called? Because I was going to say perhaps one of the moderators could post a link to it, because that's only fair, so that people can.
Satellites and GPS.
Science and GPS.
Satellites and GPS.
Oh, satellites and GPS. Beg your pardon. And for so people are aware, Kyle Adams' channel is called Kyle Adams. It's not called Flat Earth Institute of Science, is it? Because that floored me for a while. I couldn't find it at first.
No, that happens to a lot of people. I like to keep it just my name because I like to talk about more than just flat Earth. I like to talk about religious statements for every once in a while. And I've got some section on there talking about my political views. And I've got, it's about me. And I really wanted to not hide behind a screen name, because it's part of building that relationship of trust. When people can realize that I'm putting my name on the line by saying this stuff, it shows a level of commitment behind my views. I'm not some troll out there who's trying to get attention or anything like that, but this is me saying all these things. It shows that level of sincerity, and that's really what I'm really after. And the whole idea with the Flat Earth Institute of Science is it's not just about me. I'm trying to involve it with lots of people here. And so as my kids get older, and if they want to start doing more of their own projects and do their own thing, then they can start sharing the Flat Earth Institute of Science on their own individual channels in the future. Or if I can find other partners to work with who would also like to help do scientific projects. And that way it branches out. It's not just on one channel.
Okay. Well, just for your knowledge, I'm actually not averse, personally speaking, to giving out more personal details than I do. However, for reasons, it's not suitable for me to do that. Otherwise, I would. I'm
not trying to put you on the spot.
No. I've been quite open about that. I can't talk about many. Most people won't give their address away, for instance, and nor would I. But for reasons, I can't give away much personal information due to my work, and it's simple as that.
I get that. I totally get that. Yeah, and again, you're a globe earther, and another person talking about the globe online. It doesn't really matter what your exact name is, because no one's going to point a finger at you saying, "Oh, I'm just saying these things because I'm trying to get attention," or something like that.
Well,
so it's a little bit of a different situation for you than it is for me.
Well, you did say you've got the video, and I'm sorry, I haven't noticed if no one has, please can somebody put a link to Kyle's channel in the chat. But GPS asks you, how does GPS work? Just the roughest sort of idea. I mean, okay, do you think it's using satellites, or do you think it's using towers, or is it using something else?
Well, that depends on how you define satellites. And so when in my video I get on and I talk about that, about a little bit about what satellites are. And we've got another video in my series, Modern Earth Science Destroyed, where we're actually just reading a science textbook, typical high school textbook.
Oh yes, I did the first one of those, didn't I, Kyle?
Yeah. And so I talk about satellites in that one too. And I want to. We're getting ready to do another video. It's been long overdue about longitude and latitude, and that's going to be really fun. I'm just really looking forward to it. My biggest hang up is every time I get other people involved, I have to work with their schedules too, and then it takes a lot longer time to do. So whenever I do a video by myself, I can get that video out like in a flash. But when I work with other people, then I have to wait for them. And so that's my hardest hang up at all. It kind of drives me a little bit crazy sometimes, but yeah.
Well,
it's all right.
Just a side question.
It's always worth having other people in there.
Just a side question with regard to satellites. Have you ever seen one?
Have I ever seen one?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of blinking lights up in the sky, and my parents always said, "Oh, look, there's a satellite. Oh, there's a satellite."
Well,
and,
let me tell you
that
straight away, though. Straight away, if it's blinking, it's not a satellite.
Yeah, if it's a plane. Well,
yeah, planes blink.
You don't think satellites twinkle?
No, they. Well, I mean, you said blink, which straight away made me think of planes, because obviously they have the marker lights on them. But satellites, I suppose there's a certain element of twinkling, but nowhere near as much as a star. Yeah, that would be interesting. Have a look at a website called...
See, I've seen footage on the Starlink satellites, for example.
Yes, and that's very interesting.
Yeah,
I've seen those once by eye. But the best one to see, never mind about whether you think ISS is a space station or not, but it's still a satellite of the Earth.
Is a balloon that you tie to a chair. So.
No. But what I would say is, if you go to a website, there's others available, but I tend to use one called Heavens Above, heavens-above.org, I think it is. Then you can put in your location. You can either put in the grid reference or something, or you can put in the name of your town or whatever, and then it brings up a map so you can find you. It will tell you when the ISS and other satellites are going to pass over, the exact time they will appear, the time that they will disappear because they go into the shadow. It will tell you the length of time that they will be in the sky, the start position and the end position. I did that with a video for the ISS, and I filmed it with my phone. But
they've got that with planes too, but they don't. That's a
yeah,
lot
but
more
we're
details than with the plane.
But the interesting thing is, Kyle, you're somewhere in the States. I'm in the UK. Now, it's quite possible, depending on the exact path, that we could find a time when the ISS is going over your house and then going over my house. Excuse me. We are obviously at least several thousand miles apart, and so that would be hard to explain. When the website, anyone in between on that path could see the prediction. Oh, it's coming over me at 7. It's coming over me at 2 minutes past 7. It's coming over me at 3.5 minutes past 7, and it will. So that thing has travelled.
You can do that with planes too.
Yes, but would the plane have travelled from? I don't know where you are. I'm literally going to. Let's just say you're in. I'm trying to think of any US. You're Denver, okay? Could it travel so that it's over Denver, or in your skies over Denver, and then 15 minutes later be over the UK? A plane can't do that.
Planes that you're aware of can't do that. But
that's getting spooky.
Yeah, see, we've got. I went to Storm Area 51. I was there when they did that whole thing. Even though I'm not a big believer in UFOs or anything like that, I went there.
I must admit, I would like to go to Area 51 and photograph myself by the sign. I don't think I'd dare step past it because those men have guns and everything. Okay.
It was a really fun experience, and
I bet
it really shaped me for in a lot of positive ways. I really just wanted to go there to help support the move for government transparency. And so at Area 51, it's really highly speculated that they've got a lot of aircraft that are under surveillance or top secret aircraft that
Absolutely.
the government doesn't want you to know.
The bomber, what's it called? The one that amazing, is it a B1 or B? Whatever the bomb, the stealth bomber, the one that looks like a bat, the one that's black, all angular shapes to avoid radar and whatever. That amazing thing that would have been tested at a place like, if not Area 51, and someone else. So of course they got advanced things. Absolutely. The question is, have they got aliens? I'd like to find out.
I have much higher expectations as to what kind of advanced technology is out there that they don't let you know about.
Well, there's the technology that's super advanced like that we do know about. There's going to be technology that's more advanced than that, that's in use now, but is secret. And there's going to be stuff that's in development and stuff that's still speculative and under design and test. So it's interesting stuff. And I'd give my eye teeth to go and have a look around that place. I do have, Carl, a whole bunch of super chats to read out, and I haven't refreshed for a while. So that was GPS. Thank you, GPS. Some old dude. I'm going to read what some old dude said, okay, and then I'll comment on it. He super chatted $10. Thank you. Says he wants to establish common ground so he can feel like his position has some sort of validity. How can there be common ground between truth and lies? Now, I think that's a loaded word. I do know what you're saying, some old dude, and if we were talking about someone like Nathan Oakley, if it was Nathan here, yeah, I think you could be talking about lies. I know it's only my feeling. Kyle could be lying through his teeth for all I know, okay? But I don't get that feeling. Now, obviously, I disagree with Kyle. I think Kyle is wrong, but that's different than a lie, if you get what I'm saying.
If I was lying about the word science, and you agree with the definition of science, then that kind of be like you lying too. So, kind of like, I don't think we're both liars here.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, we got our differences, but also to be fair to some old dude, Kyle, we are almost, I'd say almost because not 100%, but almost endlessly up against flat earthers who are quite willing to blatantly lie and get caught out.
And there's a lot of globe earthers out there who do the same thing. I get strawmanned all the time where people just totally misrepresent me. I'm just like, come on, you can do better than this.
Okay.
And it's all about building a relationship. When you start misrepresenting someone, either on purpose or whatnot, that just destroys a relationship, and then you can't build up from that. It
actually
just puts up walls and saying you're attacking me, and I don't want to go further with that.
Yeah, that's actually very true. Mitchell from Australia, the first time, I had a couple of videos back and forth, and then had a debate with him, and I thought, oh, this is good. We disagree, but there's a certain level of respect. But he went downhill, and all he does is he uses a cherry-picked misquote of me endlessly, which I regard as a lie. Cherry picking. Because for instance, if let's say I was recording you and you said, do I think the Earth is a globe? No, I don't. And then I cut out the bit where you say I think the Earth is a globe. That's misrepresenting you. That's dishonest. That's cherry picking from within one sentence. That's wrong, and that's what he's done to me. So we do see a lot of that. So I certainly understand where some old dude's coming from. As I said, being honest. I don't know 100% for sure if Kyle is lying and happily lying, but I don't feel he is. My gut feel is he's not. I hope that's fair, Kyle.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay. Jeff C. super chatted $5 Canadian, saying, sorry, I walked away from the chat. In archaeology, we measure fact against legend. History relies on documented facts.
I like that, and it's all about, I bring that up. I was looking into that with evidence, the word evidence, as I was kind of thinking about what qualifies as evidence. And one of the things that came up to my mind was archaeology. When we look at, there's primary source evidence, which is the documents themselves, people the first-hand accounts, the left behind artifacts, and then there's like the secondary evidence, and that's a little different where it gets where I'm reading in different books, and so there's no primary evidence of Eratosthenes ever existing, but we do have secondary evidence where other books out there describe him as existing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it gets more difficult, doesn't it? With you have to use bits of evidence to support other evidence to bolster each other up when you're talking about times like that. So, for instance, it was fascinating things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, which obviously were discovered. Was it the 60s? I'm not sure, but that lent support to the fact that the Bible was pretty much unchanged from thousands of years ago. Yeah, absolutely. So carrying on, where were we? So that was Jeff C. I'm not sure if this is Pajo Lee or Paho Lee, super chatted €2, saying his reasoning is flawed. The puppets, stroke people, exist. I think he's talking about Sesame Street.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for that. And some old dude has come back again with another kind super chat of $10 US, saying Sesame Street is not faked in the way he claimed the moon photos were faked, thus not a proper counter example.
Buzz did say it was animated. So.
Yeah, no. I don't recall that clip, but I do know that quite a few quotes that Buzz has said have been very much clipped and taken out of context. Now, since I don't know the clip, I can't sort of comment either way. But you need to see the full interview or whatever and see it in context.
It's in my video. Interesting words from Buzz Aldrin.
Okay, thank you. Ira Gwynn super chatted again, £5, saying, I don't have a photo of the moon landing, but I'll never forget my mum and dad waking me up in the middle of the night to watch it live. Wow, that is fantastic experience. I was too young. I was too young. Too young to have seen it, but that must have been
sounds like someone
incredible.
who really needs to see there was no one taking the picture. You watched animation. That's what he directly told Conan.
Do you know, I have seen that clip and I've seen the debunk of it, but I can't remember what it is. But then we often say, well, who took photos of the Eagle when it launched back up to meet the command module? It was a camera that was left there that was timed to tilt on a signal. And the same the other way. Who filmed Neil Armstrong coming out if he was the first man on the moon? But that has been put forward as an argument. But there was a fold-out thing that could be released from either inside or the doorway, which folded out and had a camera on it. You know what I mean? It's some of the stuff is interesting. Some of it is just plain wrong and totally debunkable. I reckon we should do this, Carl. We will take this off stream and discuss it. I'd look forward to it. Nimrod has super chatted 20 Swedish krona. You're getting all the sex today. Great chat. Thumbs up. A-OK. Thank you for that, Nimrod. And just for your information, Carl, Swedish krona, S-E-K. It's a bit of a running joke about sex dance and sex. Yeah. Thank you for that, Nimrod. Okay. Jeff C super chatted $5 Canadian. I am a Christian that believes in science. I do not treat the Bible as literal fact. So, how would you put yourself on the scale, Kyle? From it's a book that I get comfort from, and perhaps you feel you get moral guidance or learn how to behave to other people from. A scale with that at one end to 100% word for word literal truth. Where would you put yourself on that sort of range?
I'm not entirely sure because there's a lot of parts of the Bible that openly acknowledge themselves as parables. And so obviously I'm not going to say this parable is literally happening, but it does have literal symbolic meaning. And so I just recently did a video about the 10 virgins, and I had a lot of fun with that. I really want to do more videos about the different parables of Christ. I think they're just phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is difficult because if where someone is a 100% word for word literalist, then I've got to be honest and say that they can be pulled to bits very easily. For instance, it says something about rabbits chewing the cud and bats are birds. But
what I like to do is I like to look into things as a hypothesis. Okay, the Bible says this, and the Bible openly says, "Prove me now herewith." That's a huge statement. Prove me now herewith. Put me to the test. And so that's the approach I like to take with the Bible. Is
I thought,
they say something to test it.
I have read it, but I don't. I'm sure you're right about that quote, but I don't know that quote. But I thought there was something about test. Again, I'm reaching a bit. Test not your Lord or something like that. Am I imagining that? I might be imagining it.
It was Malachi I was quoting there. Says, "Prove me now herewith, and see if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing upon you, that there shall not be room enough to receive it." And so that is a definite me to the test.
Okay. Well, still going on with super chats. Right, I'm going to read this one because Kyle, just so you're aware, I will read super chats, and unless it was a super chat that was, and I don't expect it, I've never had it on this channel. If there was a super chat that was purely abusive, I wouldn't read it. Okay, but that doesn't mean I won't read out ones that are negative towards you. Okay, Stephen York super chatted $7 Australian dollars 99. Groan. Kyle is so tedious. His Sesame Street argument just shows his outright indignance. He will never have a genuinely open mind. Please, feel free to respond, Kyle. Or not.
Okay. It doesn't seem like he's really trying to persuade me, except for by the dark side.
Okay, well, thank you for the super chat, Stephen. I've read it, and Kyle has responded. Thank you, Kyle. Earth is Life, the super chat at $5 US, says, Can Kyle give us an example of when a globe earther has lied? I presume we're talking about with respect to the globe, and not that they said, I can run a mile in under 2 minutes. So globe versus flat earth, I guess, Kyle. In these debates and debunk and counter debunk argument videos, you did say something about globe earthers have lied. Can you give us an example?
Yeah. I just did with straw manning. Straw manning is a terrible place. I see it all the time. As I make a statement and then someone just utterly misrepresents me, and that's an all-out lie.
Yeah. Well, if you have been straw manned, I would agree that would be a lie. Cherry picking.
I've got my own debate board, and I've got tags all over the board of different instances where different people strawman me. And so, if they want more evidence, they can go check out the debate board. But, it happens frequently.
I mean, if I'm doing one of your videos, Kyle, then I would hope to bust for want of a better word. I would hope to bust what you said using evidence and logic, and I'd chuck in a bit of humour. The one thing I wouldn't do is twist your words, edit it so it seemed like you were saying something you weren't, deliberately misunderstand. I suppose there's always a possibility I could misunderstand something you said. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a straw man that's positively made, but I could misunderstand an argument. I suppose that's fair enough. But if someone's deliberately twisting what you said, setting up a straw man argument just so that they can knock it, I agree, that would be a lie. You said you've got examples.
So if someone were to come up to me and say, "You are anti-science," and we both just barely found that common ground in the word science, and I'd say, "You are deliberately misrepresenting me," because I have not shown any ways where I'm anti-science. I'm all about, building on a foundation of observation and experimentation, and that's, my all-out goal.
Well, certainly there's been those examples that we discussed at the top of the stream where you have taken on board some evidence I provided or that prediction I made and have revised your position. That's a good position to hold, and if you were to provide something that I couldn't counter, I would hope I'd have to say, look, Kyle, either I can't, or you're correct, and so I changed my position. I would hope that I would be willing and able to do that. But then also, you see that was the other concerning thing about that thing with regard to your daughter and the lies, the NASA lies, because that wouldn't be open, and therefore it wouldn't be scientific if you just took a position everything NASA says is a lie. Then if my
there's
evidence,
no observation or experimentation behind it, then it wouldn't be scientific. But if there is observation and experimentation behind it, then I can describe that as scientific, as we both defined it.
Okay. Dora and Koo, thank you, Dora, super chatted €2 and said, remember the Bothans, even it was a trap.
It's a trap!
Very topical, Dora, thank you. I'm just going to refresh just in case any have come in, because I sat on that page for quite a time. You guys have been extremely generous tonight, and I suppose I should thank Kyle in that's drumming up a lot of super chats, a lot of interest in this, Kyle. Some old dude, we have actually covered this before, but he's asking a question. Some old dude, super chat $2 US, saying, how does Kyle respond to your mage experiment? We don't need to go through all the ins and outs of it, Kyle, but what was your opinion? Because the idea of mage was to go up and try and photograph the shape of the Earth, the horizon. I believed it showed a curve, but how did you take it all?
I believe it showed a curve too. I fully acknowledge the curve that was observed. However, I have a different explanation for that curve, and that has to do with the spotlight effect from the sun.
That's right. We did that thing because I did a counter video, didn't I? Where we were making it, adding and taking away brightness and so on. That was it, wasn't it? Yeah. So I mean, if anyone wants to see the details of that. It would probably be in one. It was in one of my Mage Rage videos, I think, wasn't it, Kyle? Because
you talked about that in the Mage Rage.
Yes.
I also really greatly summarized it in one of my videos called "Disconfirming Evidence," and I said that we have to, when we look at the horizon and we see curvature on the horizon, multiple things that can cause that curvature, and each of those things need to be ruled out before we can say that curvature proves that the Earth is a globe. And so I talk about each of those things that need to be ruled out in order to.
Well, I mean, I'd agree with you to a certain extent, because there could potentially be other explanations. Is it that the camera is distorting it? Well, I think that I ruled that out in several ways. Yeah, and so on. So you have to try and rule things out. There could be other explanations, but what I don't see how is, if it was flat, how you could have come up with that result. See, I think that result ruled out it being flat, even if it couldn't confirm that it was a globe. But yeah,
I showed you the stage in the disconfirming evidence. I showed a flat stage with the spotlight shining on it, and how the spotlight caused the flat stage to appear to curve.
Okay, well, I had done a number of videos. Please, if anyone hasn't seen them, well, check out the Mage video. But there's a Mage Rage list where a number of flat earthers, a small number of flat earthers, because most ran away, challenged Mage, and I dealt with those challenges. I can't remember, because I had a Mage Rage list, didn't I, Kyle, saying, this person got this wrong, this person got this wrong, but there were one or two that I gave credit for. One was actually Brian's Logic, who had spotted what seemed to be a strange reading on the temperature sender, and it looks like the temperature sender was just reading a little too high throughout the flight. I acknowledged that because it was an honest observation by him, and he questioned it. So I gave him credit for spotting it, and he was correct. It was reading out of the expected range. So Brian's logic was one. I'll be honest, Carl, I can't remember if I gave you a Mage Rage thumbs up or a thumbs down. I can't remember.
You gave me a thumbs up. You treated me very respectfully throughout the whole thing, and overall, you said you were really impressed by the explanation that I provided.
Okay, well, I know that there was more than one. I had a feeling it was you, but I just couldn't remember for sure as one of the people. But please, people check out the Mage Rage list because there were some really bad fails, including one of them who tried to debunk the wrong camera. There we go. That was fun. Right, there's another super chat come in. Again, I want to make sure I haven't missed any. Some old dude, thank you, some old dude, $5. Including the uniformity of the curve around the sky. Still talking about Mage. Yeah, because Mage, Mage was rotating backwards and forwards all the time, but the curve always was staying the same. So yeah, I mean, did you have any comments about that, Kyle, or do you think you've addressed it? I mean, I know you've done video. Yeah. It was fun. Okay, so I just want to ask that though, Kyle. Are there any other specific? While you're here, and I do appreciate you coming here tonight. Is there any other particular things you want to ask or cover? Because I've got a whole bunch of people, and I'll be honest, people waiting in the waiting room. It's too many people to bring you all in. So I'm going to, in a minute, bring in just a few. And if Kyle is, you know that this channel is a respectful channel, Kyle, and these people will treat you fairly. I won't allow otherwise, okay? So if you want to stay, and I would like it if you did, perhaps we can get some of these people in and continue to chat and see where it goes for a little while, if you have some time.
Okay. Yeah. The only thing I had was I was just looking for that clear cut kind of answer as to whether or not we had common ground in the word evidence. Whether or not it was, I defined evidence as something that indicates or provides a sign for something, as in grounds for believing in something. This person's face was really flush, and that provided evidence that he had a fever.
I don't think we wildly disagree. For instance, if you said photographs are evidence, then it's also then going to depend on it's also then going to depend. Has that photograph been taken properly? Has the measurement been taken properly that's produced that result? So that has to come into consideration as well.
Yeah. And so evidence doesn't necessarily hardcore prove something to be true. It's just kind of an indication or a sign.
That's right. This
is grounds for investigation.
Yeah, the evidence either supports, i.e., it can either directly support something. It can be evidence that doesn't clash with something. If you said the sun is hot, and I said, I've taken the temperature. Actually, I'm waffling a bit. What I'm saying is, some evidence may not support a position, but as long as it's not running counter to it, it's neutral. So it doesn't really matter. The evidence you really want is the evidence that attacks your position.
Grounds to believe in something.
But
the grounds for believing that this is the case or is not the case. It can go both ways.
But you evidence will support, but you need to test evidence that could possibly knock your theory. So if you have your hypothesis, there's no point there's no point in having a hypothesis that the sun is hot and running a test by using a microphone. to listen to it, because that's not going to tell you the temperature that you're receiving from the sun. So it's got to be appropriate evidence, and it's got. But what you want to do is, okay, well, how can we test to see if the sun is actually cold? You know, because if we run that test that could possibly show if it's cold, and it comes out and says it's cold, well, that's knocked your theory that the sun is hot. So that's good evidence. So you'd have to revise your theory under those circumstances. This is interesting stuff.
That's a topic that people get into with the moon. Is the moonlight warm or cold?
I know.
There's a whole other topic. That's a whole other can of worms.
Isn't it just? Isn't it just?
But I just wanted to. That was my other thing. Was my very last question was, how much evidence do you need in order to form a hypothesis? And overall, I think you kind of already addressed this in the very beginning. Huh?
None at all.
No evidence to form a hypothesis.
Not to form a hypothesis. My hypothesis could be that Kyle Adams is an artificial life form produced in a factory and delivered by Amazon. That could be my hypothesis, and that's valid as a hypothesis. Okay. Then we need to think of tests. Well, how could we do it? We could try taking him to pieces. We could see what happens. Leave him running for a week. Will he run flat if we don't plug him in? Those could be ways of testing if you're an artificial life form. But the hypothesis is basically just some idea that you want to find out the answer to. So my hypothesis is that you're a robot. Okay? That's fine. That's a valid hypothesis. So let's test it. Okay? So you design experiments to test it. Sorry?
I said that's the right kind of attitude. That's the whole purpose. There's no point in having a hypothesis unless it's going to take you somewhere.
That's right. So we've got that hypothesis. We think of ways. How could we show that Kyle is not a robot? Well, one thing is we could pinprick his thumb and see if he bleeds, because robots don't bleed. Pinprick your thumb, blood comes out. Well, that's not looking good for Kyle being a robot. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's yeah, cool. Okay, well, let's get a couple. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, so based on everything you told me today, you can't find a single thing that you disagree with in my very first lesson 1. You've checked off everything, so
okay,
which is great. It's a significant amount of common ground, and I really aim to try and make those videos as agreeable as possible. And so
okay, well, from my point of view, I would like us to, as I said, to chat in the background off stream, to see if we can organise some sort of debate. If it doesn't work out between us for whatever reason, no hard feelings, no blame or anything like that. Either way, we'll see what happens.
I think when we make the focus on enriching each other and building our relationship and focusing on the common ground, there is no loser in a debate, because we're all learning and we're all developing.
Sorry, I've just seen the comment by Barry Bamford talking about my Kyle Adams is a robot hypothesis. He says, does he poop? Well, I'll leave that experiment up to you, Barry. I'm not interested anymore. Okay, look, we got a few people.
That just sent me through Full Metal Alchemist.
Well, look, we've got a few people in here. There's one. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or 11 or even 12 people. Really. Sorry, guys. You know there's no guarantees. And that's happening tonight, because there's no way I can get you all in. And to be honest, not even in shifts, because it's here it's gone 11, so it's not going to go on too much longer. Kyle has been here quite a while, but there's a couple in particular I want to get in. So the first one I'm going to bring in, Kyle, is Mr. 42. Primarily because of what we were talking about right at the top of the stream, which may have been before you come in. Hello, Mr. 42. He's muted. He's probably gone to sleep. I'll give him a sec.
I'm here.
You're there. I was going to throw you out in a minute. You're right, 42. I don't know if you've met.
Hello.
I don't know if you've met Kyle before.
No,
Name
one
rings a
moment.
bell.
I need to mute the YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
So you've not met before.
No, I have not met Kyle before.
His name definitely rings a bell. I don't know where I've heard it before.
Was it in a book? A strange book with the words "Don't panic" on the front. Yes, so 42. I hope you heard at the top of the stream I shouted out about David Weiss,
I have been
DITRH.
listening the whole stream today.
Excellent.
Excellent. Yes.
Yeah, so that was good news, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And I thought that was a decent response from him.
Yeah, you got the order of things not 100% correctly, but it's not that important.
Oh well, let's not bicker about who killed who.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but the basic thing was that you did a video showing security weaknesses in his app, and he's responded, got them
He
fixed,
has responded indeed.
yeah, and then paid you a small financial reward for doing it, which I thought was decent.
It was a decent amount, yeah.
Yeah, so
He didn't have to send anything, and he did.
no.
David Weiss is awesome. I love him.
Well, Kyle, in this case, I'm going to say David Weiss did good, but in other cases, I think it's quite awful. What he did with that little old lady, I thought was quite awful.
Everyone has points and weakness, strong suits and weaknesses, but yeah, overall, I think he's done amazing things for the Flat Earth group entirely.
Well, it'd be
Just
nice if
the whole
he'd come on a debate with someone. I'm not just talking about me, but I believe others have, and he just won't.
Well, he's pretty open about it. I was just with him the other day on a radio station. We were just talking to someone, and he's constantly out there looking for people to interview.
Well, I tell you what, Kyle. Then, if you have contact with him, you can vouch for my behaviour. I hope. Would you, or could you put it to him, if not a formal debate, then if he'd be willing to come on one of my streams to chat like we have?
I could suggest it, but I think he's more so open for for people who are like fresh to the scene. I think that's kind of his main thing. And so when he talks to like radio stations, he's talking to a lot of people who've never talked to a flat earther before.
Yes,
so
but I think part of the reason is those radio interviewers, through no fault of their own, and they can't really be expected to, they don't really know what they got coming. They don't really know some of the arguments that flat earthers have put up that may sound very convincing, but are actually really easy to debunk with some hard evidence. So is it that he's only picking the easy wins?
He might be picking the easy wins, and I think so.
But okay, I mean,
considering someone who's never heard it before, that would be kind of an easy one. I kind of get a little bit annoyed of it because I like to pick people who know what I'm talking about a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, if you can. Yeah, actually, MC Toon said the same in chat. DRTRH wants to inject himself into interviews with people that are unfamiliar with the FE nonsense claims. Exactly what I was saying.
Low-hanging fruit. It's low-hanging fruit. And that's the missionary term that we used to use all the time. It's looking for people. Yeah, we do the same thing as missionaries. Is we'd go out there and look for people who are much more open to hearing these things. But if you've already kind of hardened yourself off against it, then that's high fruit, and it's a lot harder to get to.
Cole, I appreciate you have no control over him, and he may just turn around and say no. But I would also appreciate if you mention it to him and say that I'm trustworthy, and that I'll listen to him and chat with him decently. I'll disagree with him, I'm sure, but if you can sort of vouch for my giving him a fair and honest hearing, just see if he will. If he won't, he won't. And neither yourself or me have lost anything. But I'd like to, and I have no sensible way of reaching out to him. So I'd appreciate if you could at least let him know. Excellent. So let's get someone else in. I'll tell you what, Mr. 42, you can see who's in the list there. Who shall I get in next? So there's no favouritism from me.
Well, who has not been on recently? Let's pick someone new for the chat. May be interesting as well.
Okay, go on then.
I think that is a good approach. So I don't know actually who has been here.
It's hard, isn't it? Because you don't want to think, oh, well, if I don't pick Fred, they're going to get upset or whatever.
Oh, it's not personal about people this time. Is Khan been on before or even recently? Calm with George?
Not recently. So, okay, let's get Khan
like
with
someone,
George. That
has
should
been-
be George Snatiuk. Hello, good evening, George. How are you?
There was no.
Hello,
announcement
George.
there.
Yeah, hello. Oh,
Good evening.
wait, you brought me in.
I
Okay,
have
I'm sorry.
indeed. I have indeed. How are you?
Oh, getting along. How's yourself?
Yeah, not so bad. We were both on Blue Marbles the other day, weren't we?
Oh, gosh, yeah, that was horrible.
With SE Montreal.
Yeah, wanting to know about light. And these guys just don't understand refraction, how refraction works.
Yeah. Well, I had the two.
I'm really curious about what you think about my fish tank laser experiments. Then,
Well, please explain it to George, and then because George knows about this stuff.
okay, if you're the guy to talk to, I'd love to talk to you about this. So, with my fish tank laser experiments, I went and I created a density gradient in the water, and then I shined a laser through it to prove that the light is getting refracted downward. And on the other end of the tank, I had a picture of a boat. The whole objective of the experiment was, if I were to have this downward refraction, will that downward refraction cause the boat to appear to sink? And that was accomplished.
Just see.
Will downward refraction cause a boat to appear to sink?
Downward refraction should cause objects in the distance to rise.
Yeah.
And I fully acknowledge that, because that's what my experiment showed. The entire boat itself was higher. However, at the same time, that boat also appeared to be sinking.
Huh?
I think perhaps we'd need to see the video, Kyle, for George to comment, because I can't quite picture it
Yeah,
either.
I can't quite get what you're talking about. I mean, when you look at distance objects in the distance, and say you look through a auto level or a theodolite, you have your crosshairs set to horizontal. If you have a higher density atmosphere near the surface than you do above the surface, your light rays are going to bend in a concave manner, go up and then down, which causes your viewing angle to be raised up, so the objects in the distance are going to look like they're rising up above the horizontal. I don't get this sinking thing. To me, what sinking means is if you have an object or an image in the distance at a fixed distance that isn't moving, and you train your crosshairs on it. Now, if the atmospheric conditions are such that you get downward reflecting rays or bending rays, then that object in the distance, your image will appear to rise up above the crosshairs. And then if you have an inverted situation where it's less dense near the surface than it is above the surface, and your rays are going to bend upward, which will cause your viewing then will be looking down below the horizon, so the object will seem to sink. So I guess I'm not on the same page as you as well.
I think this is one of those
Something you
things
have
that.
to see.
So I was just going to say, I think this is one of these things you need to do in a video with. Appreciate, Carl, you've done a video, but it's something that's going to need to be seen in a video, or perhaps with diagrams as well. Descriptively, it's going to be really hard to perhaps understand it.
It's describing a concave lens, but a concave lens is circular, and this is just purely horizontal, and that's kind of the difference between a lens and the atmosphere.
I don't know. I think we may need to move on from that, because I can't picture it unless you can. 42.
I cannot at the moment. No.
No.
And neither do I. I
Yeah.
mean, this whole idea of lens in the atmosphere, I don't know if you're talking about the atmosphere trying to create a lens, which it really won't. I mean, to create a
It
lens.
refracts light. I hope we can agree that we can call that common ground here, that the atmosphere refracts the light that passes through it.
Absolutely.
Yes, but that's not the same thing as a lens. A lens has refraction going in both directions off the center line, so they create a focal point.
Yes, I agree with that. And so it's not quite. And so I did a video about.
Oh, Kyle, it's happened again. You were talking and you just dropped out. There must be some glitch somewhere along the line, Kyle.
It's a glitch in the matrix.
In the Matrix, yes.
It's in your background.
I just saw a black cat walk past twice. I'm not sure it's the same one.
chewing on the underwater
deja vu.
cables, right?
So, yeah, Kyle, unfortunately you dropped out again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. The shark must have been chewing on those underwater cables. So, I was saying that I took a closer look at Rob Skiba's setting sun effect. He did the thing holding up a lens and showed the sun setting to that. And the problem with that was he used a round lens, and that was
Didn't
the
he
big
use
thing. And
one of
that's what
those?
ultimately.
Didn't he use one of those? Is it called a Fresno lens?
That's it, a Fresnel lens, and
yes.
which is circular, and so that doesn't quite accurately represent the atmosphere because the atmosphere isn't circular like that. And so that was one of the major things that led me up to doing my own fish tank laser experiment that does it more accurately over just horizontal plane.
Yeah, because with the Fresno lens, I mean, a typical use is in the back of sort of certain buses, isn't it? So that it literally bends the light so you can see what's just behind the bus. That's the sort of effect they are. It was a bit odd, but
It was more like a magnifying glass, which is how it refracts the light. It's like a magnifying glass, which kind of does it from all directions onto a focal point, just as, remember, was that Khan or Mr. 42 who said that? But yeah, I agree with them. And that was the problem with Rob Skiba's experiment, and which I improved upon with my fish tank laser experiment.
see, that's quite interesting. You said that's a problem with the experiment. That is a good point. If you do or come across an experiment, can it be improved? Are there errors or faults in the design of an experiment? Because if there are, then you're not showing evidence to either support or, well, it's just malformed, isn't it? It's not valid.
I had a great big discussion with Jeffrey Pinion here on your channel about that. He had some great input on it, and we had a lengthy discussion about that whole subject. And yeah, so it was really constructive, and it was great having him on the debate board to help inspire these things.
Oh, good. Right, well, it's 11:15. I think I'm going to have to sort of pretty much round it up now. And my deepest apologue is to all those kind people who are waiting in the waiting room. Do feel free to hang around because, well, I will go back in there for a while. I don't know about you, 42, or you, George, or indeed yourself, Carl, if you have a few minutes just to chat with people. I'm
really curious about this Crow XC in there. I'm like, is that like Crow 777 or something, or is that someone else? I have no idea.
I don't know. Okay. Right, so what I'll do is massive thanks to everyone tonight. To everyone who's come. I didn't see what the peak figures were, but it was quite a lot of people. I appreciate each and every one of you. Massive thanks, of course, to all the members. Massive thanks to all the patrons as well. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I think I mentioned it last stream. Down below, members are listed as well as patrons now because I worked it out. So they've had to live a long time being members without appearing on the scrolling reel. They're on there now, so thank you. And of course, thank you for all the very, very kind super chats. Appreciate each and every one of those, and indeed for every single comment. Of course, not forgetting those who unfortunately have not made it on the stream, and those who have. Yourself, George, thank you very much. I know you're only here for a short while, but you're always welcome, you know that.
Oh, thank you, sir. It was a pleasure talking to you yesterday on
yes, that was good, wasn't it?
I'm
I'm waiting.
As long as it lasted.
Yes, well, I'm waiting for the recording to see if it is cut. He did swear on his life that it wouldn't be cherry picked, but we'll wait and see.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's going to pass it on to Bev, and Bev will hack it up.
Yeah, I suppose fair enough. And he's kept his word, and it's just Bev that's doing it. That's possible, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Just one quick comment. You were wondering who Crow XE is. He's a chap from Egypt.
Oh, okay.
He hangs around the Globe Earth chat rooms and stuff.
Cool.
Good.
Okay, so he's definitely not a flat earther I'd be familiar with then.
No.
Okay.
That's
Nope.
for sure.
Okie dokie. All right, and Mr. 42, thank you again. Well done on honestly, well
And,
done on that video, and with getting that response from David. That was cracking.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Well, what I'll do is I'll chuck you two back in first. So thanks, Mr. 42. Good night.
Yeah.
And thank you, George. Good night to you too. I'll pop you back in the waiting room. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, Kyle, big thanks to you. Thank you for reaching out. This first time was a few days ago, and then again tonight, wasn't it? And of course, for actually turning up. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was great having the opportunity to find that common ground with you, and it just feel like it helps me progress.
Well, it's nice chatting with you. I get on with you. I like you as a guy. I have no problems at all. Obviously, we disagree about the shape of the earth.
It's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Because I'm getting there. I'm going to have you convinced. I just don't know how long it will take.
Well, like I said, it's all about building upon that common ground, and common ground works both ways. I can use it just as well as you can use it, because that's something we both agree upon.
Yeah.
That's how you build that two-way bridge of communication.
Well, fingers crossed, everyone. Myself and Kyle we'll try and chat and see if we can come up with something to debate about a little more formally, where we actually provide evidence, perhaps something a bit more structured. Or maybe not, and that's fine too. But I hope so.
That's one thing I really want you to try and ask me is I want you to come at me and try to find as much common ground as you can that you can use to your own advantage to try and persuade me. And I think that would be a very interesting interesting approach to take.
Okay, and I'm not going to say anything about it yet, but I've actually thought of something. Okay. Okay, cool. So thanks very much, Kyle. Big thanks, and thanks for answering some of those super chats, even if they weren't too friendly towards you. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for just the love and respect.
Cool, excellent. Right, I'll pop you into the live waiting room so you can have a quick chat if you have a few minutes with the people there, and I'll look forward. I hope to seeing you again sometime soon.
I look forward to it too.
Cheers. Good night, man.
You too.
Right, excellent. So there we go. I've got a really, really bad set of shifts coming up, and unfortunately, on one of my rest days, they've chucked me on a training course, so I'm losing a day of my rest days, which is always fun. That's lovely, that is. So it's going to be a bit interesting coming up in the next week or so. I am hoping to have a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Fallacy 3, but I'm still thinking on it, designing it, and then it'll be quite a lot of work, but I think it'll be worth it. So do keep an eye out for that. Remember, 7th of December is the final deadline for 1 Minute Debunks. No firm date yet for the actual live debunk show. Sometime leading up to Christmas. It might be a nice way to round off the year. So please, if you think of doing one, do it. You've got nothing to lose. Okay? Thanks once more. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. And I'm struggling here to look for the thing that I'll need to switch over because... Oh, actually, let me just put that back again. Oh, no! What's going on? Oh, I managed to screw that up, didn't I? Oh, dear. Never mind. It can't all go to plan, can it? Never mind. Because sometimes...
It's a trap!
And I fell into that one, didn't I? So I better get out of here before I really cock up. Everybody, take care. See you soon and stay sensible.
Mr. Sensible, bring me some cheese, and get me only the best if you please. Here are some flowers, let me this After all you have gone all straight. Mr. Sensible, Mr. Sensible, you are a man. Every subscriber is a faithful fan. Bring your logic and your cheese. Mr. Sensible, help us out please. Mr. Sensible, Mr. Sensible, I needed proof of gravity, so I jumped off the roof. It happened not, let me go further. Why was I ever such a dumb flat earther? Mr. Sensible, Mr. Sensible, I'm such a clown. I am the laughing stock of the town. Bring your logic and your cheese. Mr. Sensible, help me out please. Mr. Sensible, bring me a sphere.
I'll try again, because I didn't think it worked. There was a super chat from some old dude, $5. How come the sun size doesn't change when the sun approaches the horizon? Everything else gets smaller. Quite right. My apologies, some old dude, that I didn't read your chat out. Take care, everyone.
Please hear my call. The earth is not flat.